We'd like to apologise for the recording fault in last week's episode. It should have ended like this.
Good night.
And welcome to Have I
Got news for you, Killian?
For you have I got...
It didn't happen under the old regime, sorry.
No, it didn't know. Well, Daddy's dead.
Paul and John, have a look at this.
Well, this is the Queen, isn't it?
Yes.
The other Queen.
This is Posh, her attempting to sing, quick stopper.
These are alleged kidnappers.
Of her and the child. The Queen's behind it all. She's behind it all. She's
You think dark eyes?
Yeah, get me Posh Bex. She's usurping my popularity. I don't like it.
Who's been helping the Beckhams through their ordeal?
Lulu.
No, it's Elton John, that famous celebrity psychotherapist.
Close enough.
Any other reason Posh was in the news this week?
Yes, very funny story.
Go on.
Peterborough United, the football club, who have been known as the Posh, as their nickname since the early 20s, she is claiming that they've nicked the name off her, and that she's known as Posh worldwide, and that they have to give up being called the Posh because she's posh, and that's it.
That's not very funny.
I wouldn't. They're all doing it now, apparently.
Just leave your name at the desk on the way out.
It's good having a women presenter, because you can be really bitchy and unpleasant, can't you? Do you think she's had Botox? I only ask because I know you have. Oh, what an ooh.
Paul and Clive, what's all this about?
Fireman.
I think you're on the right track.
covered it well there.
I think you're on the right track. It's about the firemen's strike. The question is, what have the firemen been complaining of particularly about the negotiations?
Well, they agreed a deal and then it was withdrawn.
Absolutely.
in
It's
the middle
total
of the night.
confusion in the government, isn't there?
It's now
They've been getting confusing messages.
Yes.
People also say, you know, now there's a fireman strike, I'm going to drive much more carefully on the motorway. Because when the firemen are there, I drive about 110 miles an hour. Nothing I like better than to be cut out of my Lamborghini on a Friday night.
It's all about jobs, though, really, isn't it? Because especially John Prescott is about to lose his if he doesn't solve this problem.
That's right, which brings us to the answer to the question, which is the reason the firemen are confused is that they have been talking to John Prescott. And here's what Mr. Prescott said this week on the matter of secondary strike action by tube drivers. I've already mentioned, quite frankly, there may be 100 previously. Then it was down to 1 yesterday, now it's no. Not. And I think we should welcome that as a fact. Absolutely right. Give that man a coconut. He said they're
Give that man a what?
A coconut, or whatever the prize you get.
I don't want a coconut.
Well, all right, you've got to have a point. Have several points.
I've changed my mind, Boris. I will have a coconut.
We'll have to get the catering.
I bet
people
I end
to-
up with less coconuts.
No, you never know.
I've got a lovely bunch.
Whether or not we can supply a coconut or not, I don't know. But I'll tell you exactly.
So, hang on a minute. You're offering coconuts, and yet you have not... there's no facility to
You're
give me a
promising
coconut.
something you can't
Right.
deliver, which is what you accuse the Labour Party of.
Round 2 is usually a tabloid headline round, but since I'm in charge, nominally, we're going to do something different and play a special brand new game called Kick Blair's Butt. Before we start, let's remind ourselves of the type of guy we're dealing with.
I think most people who have dealt with me think I'm a pretty straight sort of guy, and I am.
Well, we'll be the judge of that. Fingers on the buzzers.
Oh.
What is Tony Blair's favourite tune?
That's the first note of it, whatever it is.
I'll name that tune in one. Barber's Adagio for Strings.
Is one of them.
My old
Yeah.
man's a dustman. It depends on his audience,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah. Well done. You get a point each because the correct answer is, of course, it depends who's asking. He told Desert Island Discs it was Barber's Adagio for strings. He told the rocket station Heart FM it was Where the Streets Have No Name by U2. And presumably he told Rave magazine it was Smack My Bitch Up by the Prodigy. Next, what did Tony Blair achieve in less than 10 seconds on 10th April 1998?
He smacked his bitch up.
I'll hear many things against the Prime Minister, but he did not do that. He went back. Any advances on Ian?
Did he cut crime?
He did not cut crime. He broke a promise. He went back on his word.
Was it the fuel tax?
Good Friday. The Good Friday.
He said he was going to
absolutely.
rise from the dead.
Here he is in Belfast just before the Good Friday Agreement.
A day like today, I mean, it's not a day for sort of sound bites, really. We can leave those at home, but I feel the hand of history upon our shoulders.
And meanwhile, the hand of John Prescott was on a hot cross bun. Next, the Italian press once called Tony Blair Lo Scroccone. What does that mean?
Scrotum. Literally several scrotums.
It's just about his holiday home that he didn't pay for, the scrounger, isn't it? He
Absolutely right. It was the Italian press who called him a scrounger because the Blairs stayed in a Tuscan villa at the expense of the Italian taxpayer. The following year, the Blairs decided they didn't want to be away from their Islington friends, so back to Tuscany they went. Next question.
You're an Islington friend of Tony.
I am, yes, indeed. Well, he's no longer in Islington. He now lives in 10 Downing Street. You should keep up with the news.
But he was a near neighbour of yours.
Fairly near, yes. Yeah, well, we used to, borrow cups of sugar and stuff like that. But
Did he give the sugar back?
well, it's an undertaking over a period of 7 years. There'll be a reallocation of sweetening resources yes, in the fullness of time, but only within the confines of the overall economic plan, as long as Gordon says it's all right. Subject to 5 tests to do with dental caries, fattening, refinement, I can't think of more.
Very good.
Well done. Next question. The latest figure for Tony Blair is 7%. What is that? What am I talking about? What does that refer to?
7% of people in this country trust Tony Blair. And
Actually, it's his average figure for turning up for votes in the House of Commons.
Is it really?
It is.
Why did you make him Parliamentarian of the Year, then? You and your magazine made him Parliamentarian of the Year.
It wasn't so much kick Blair's butt as kiss it, really.
Steady on.
It's a slightly odd decision, wasn't it? Given that he has shown a total contempt for Parliament, to call him Parliamentarian of the Year is quite weird.
Well, I was merely reflecting the views of the panel of judges. And our real calculation, or my calculation, was this was by far the best way of annoying Gordon Brown. And if you really wanted to cause difficulties in the Labour Party, I thought this was the most ingenious way to do it.
Is there footage of you giving a prize to Tony?
Unfortunately, the Prime Minister felt that he couldn't be with us on that occasion, so he sent us a snatch of Tony Vision from Prague.
Have you got it?
I could get you a copy of it round to you.
Can we do better than that? Has someone got it?
Thank you to Boris and all his team. Thank you to Boris for not just the work you do at The Spectator, but the excellent work you do for the Conservative Party.
There you go.
I thought he was going to say thank you for the work you do for the Labour Party.
There has been talk of you, Boris, perhaps becoming the next Conservative leader.
I think the chances of that are about as high as any
Ian
this
Duncan
evening.
Smith.
Ian Duncan Smith is a first-class leader of the Conservative Party and doing a
He
great
keeps
job.
that quiet.
And doing a OK, this is the BBC, isn't it? Do you want me to go into anti-BBC auto rant?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, it's a miracle. I knew it was all too good to last. You let me have this kick Blair's butt thing.
Yeah.
And it's all again. Here we go again with the great. You've got a government in power that is getting away with absolute murder, mayhem all around London.
A totally useless leader of the opposition who's letting him do it.
Nonsense. You've got a very effective opposition which is being grotesquely let down by the media.
They're laughing. Boris. They're laughing.
They are, and they're agreeing. They're clapping.
Yeah.
They're clapping. They are. Because you have a BBC which relentlessly fails to put over the Conservative
So
case
just the
by
broadcast
dint
media.
of such extreme manoeuvres as getting me to present this programme, that sort of thing. And
So do you think
the government's
getting
doing
you
wrong.
to present is a deliberate anti-Tory move?
Well, look, I only want you all to realise that if Tony Blair continues to think that he walks on water, he may soon find that he is in error, and you may find that there is another party that is ready and willing to take up the reins of government.
The Liberals.
Not
Yes.
the Liberals. The Conservative Party. The Conservative Party. Not the Liberals. Not the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party. And we will do a far better job than one he's doing at the moment. And if I can't, I believe that will be probably cut from this.
No, I think they'll leave it in.
They'll leave it in. And good for you, chaps. Leave it in. Leave it in. Why not? Because I believe it, and who knows?
Yeah.
Who
Somebody
knows?
else might
My
do
view-
one day.
Paul and John, your chance to catch up with the
I don't
first.
think we're going to with you keeping the scores.
Oh, I don't know if I mention Robert Maxwell another 5 times. Oh, that's only once. Robert Maxwell, Robert Maxwell. You know, it was the anniversary of his death the other day.
I know, sad.
Were you
now,
celebrating?
isn't it? No.
I sometimes think he looks awfully good on the top of a pyre.
Okay, I think we'll
Celebrate
get on
Guy
now.
Fawkes night. I celebrate Guy Drowned night.
Paul and Jeremy, your four are T.S. Eliot, Jacques Chirac, Rebecca Wade, and Pol Pot.
I have a theory.
Go on, then. Has it got anything to do with this question?
Pol Pot was in Paris.
Yep.
Rebecca Wade studied in Paris.
Yep.
T.S. Eliot was in Paris. I don't know whether he studied. And Jacques Chirac was in Paris.
And he studied in Baghdad.
No, he didn't. He went to their equivalent of the LSE.
Well, maybe that Chirac makes him the odd one out then, because obviously you would expect him to study in Paris because he's French.
but he did study in Paris.
Oh, he did, so he's not the odd one out.
Maybe
then.
he can't speak French.
Yeah. He just makes
That's
noises.
All the others are fluent.
I think they all studied in Paris except except Chirac.
Well, very close. I think we'll give you the point. The answer is that Jacques Chirac is the only one not to have studied at the Sorbonne in Paris.
Oh.
So, very good
The LSE.
effort there.
Well, good.
And what about Jacques Chirac? How did the French justify voting for Chirac rather than Le Pen?
Oh, they had banners up which said, vote for the crook, not the fascist.
Absolutely. I'm going to suggest this to Jeffrey Archer next time.
God, he fooled you, though, didn't he? He really did. You used to use his gym, didn't you?
Well, actually,
For a bit
he's
of
very...
this.
Was it really a gym, though?
Is-
Because I could imagine him saying, come and use my luxury gym, and you get down there and there's just a Black & Decker Benchmaster.
But do you regret that? Do you feel a bit of a fool? In retrospect.
I think it was my biggest mistake.
Right.
Really?
Right.
Well, that's
Blimey.
honest.
Talking of which, an honest politician. You don't meet many of these.
No.
How did this? Talking of which,
What were your
how
other
did the?
mistakes?
How did this?
What were your other mistakes?
What's the second biggest?
I just concentrate on the bigger. That's a big enough one, actually. How did the Sun describe Jacques Chirac during the Iraq War? They called him Le Worm, right?
Yeah.
And the Sunday Telegraph didn't have much time for him either. They said Chirac has done so many turns he has to screw his socks on. Since Chirac's anti-war stance, Americans have taken to calling the French cheese-eating surrender monkeys, something I totally disagree with. They left out wine guzzling. French President Jacques Chirac worked on board a ship before entering politics, like John Prescott. He was a left-wing firebrand who turned right-wing as he got older, like John Prescott. And he speaks fluent English. Let's have a look at the score.
Time now for the tabloid headline round. Paul and Will, Santa Slade.
Yeah. This is a story about the priest that made the extraordinary assertion to a bunch of children that Santa Claus doesn't exist. And, of course, he was completely wrong, because Father Christmas does exist.
There was a bit of science behind this.
You can't measure Father Christmas in scientific terms, because he's beyond the simple imaginations of scientists.
So that's the thing scientists never take into account, is
Never,
that he's
never.
magic.
Yeah.
The guy was a substitute priest, and after he'd freaked out all of these 3-year-olds, he explained that he had no idea how old they are, which is what priests often say, of course.
Who was one of the parents?
Oh, Ulrika.
Ulrika.
Right. And Ulrika's response to this outburst from the pulpit about Santa.
Didn't she write a book about it and name the priest?
What's Father Christmas going to be bringing you for Christmas this year, Charles?
Oh, proportional representation.
We move on now. What was the Queen going to see? What did she see this week?
Unite or Die.
Die Another Day.
Diane, and what does that mean?
Nothing. They don't mean anything, the titles. Can you remember the last titles of the James Bond movies? I can't.
Tomorrow
But you
Never
can,
Knows.
you can remember the Sean Connery ones, though. But not
You Only
anything
Live
after
Twice?
that. Yeah, that's Sean Connery, though.
Live and
Tomorrow
Let
is not
Die.
enough. You want today as well?
The world is quite big, or have I got that right?
They've got an invisible car in this one.
What would be the point of having an invisible car? Wouldn't the villains just chase somebody who's doing 80 miles an hour in a seated position?
No, you did.
Once you're in it, you're invisible as well.
But
You're invisible as well?
You
Once
can't
you go
see
in the
into the
car.
car.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So once you're in, you can't.
It's all
be
illusionism.
invisible.
The surface of the car reflects the light in such a way that you cannot see it.
How do you feel it with petrol?
Very difficult.
It's invisible too, just like you are when you're in it.
But you drive an invisible car into a petrol station, you get out, suddenly everybody goes, where's that bloke come from?
Exactly, but you...
Then you've got to, he's got the poor sod's got to try and find the petrol can.
No, but you can turn it off.
Oh,
So then suddenly a car materialises in the forecourt at the petrol station.
Oh, right, I see. OK.
What about Prince Charles? Why wasn't
I'm
he...
actually sitting in an invisible car at the moment. Prince Charles.
Wasn't at the premiere, was he? What was he doing?
Having sex with a goat. State secret, sorry, we're not meant to tell you that. He was though, wasn't he? You know that.
Sex with a goat, that's one suggestion. Ian, from your team, what's
It was an invisible goat, apparently.
This is the Queen's busy week, attending the Bond film premiere and meeting the England football team. When the Queen arrived at the Royal Albert Hall for the James Bond premiere, one of the staff took her coat. Not the first time that's happened. Paul and Lorraine, your turn.
Professor Gunther.
Gunther van Hagen.
Hagen, or whatever his name
Yes,
is.
he's
And
the-
he plasticates people. It's really, really
How do
horrible.
you plasticate somebody?
Well, you sort of fillet their flesh off, apparently.
Yeah.
And then there's a kind of plastication process that only he knows about, so I don't really know the secret of it.
But you're using the word plastication like an expert would.
Yeah, and I think you're wrong too, because it's
We're
plastinate.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, plastinate.
But he did the first autopsy in public for about 200 years or
He
something.
did, yes, well,
and
since
people
1740,
paid
if you can work that
money.
out.
Yeah.
It was
People
on
paid
Channel
money
4.
to go see it.
How much were the
Yeah.
tickets for this?
12
12
pounds.
quid, 10, 12 pounds.
A head? That's
Yes.
an arm and a leg, mate.
But the corpse was 6 months old. It had been in formaldehyde for 6 months. It must have smelt just like long life milk.
It was apparently really disgusting. One of my friends went, they didn't pay, but they did go, and they said that it was really, really horrible. They sneaked in.
What, dressed up as a corpse, or...?
Just at the back, and they said that the stench was really, really horrible, and they were sick.
How many watched it?
300.
Which is not bad for Channel 4. What happened as this wonderful man, this professor, made the first incision?
A gasp from the crowd. They all went
Yeah.
like that, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. He went like, ah! Like that. And it turned out that the bloke's dead.
Has anyone been to this Body Worlds exhibition?
Yes.
Ian?
Have you been? Did you pay money to go?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Never.
And I watched it live on Channel 4 last night.
Oh, yuck.
When he
Oh,
cut the
Ian.
heart open and he took the congealed blood out of one of the
Oh,
ventricles
God.
and said, "This is congealed blood." It was very, very exciting.
I'm looking at you in a new light now. I
Yes.
thought you were a twinkly, lovely little person, and I'm worried now.
I'm just interested in the science of a man cutting people up for money.
Right, okay.
Isn't it art?
It is rather beautiful, though. There's the shape of a human male, just with arteries, so it's red and floating. And you go in there and it's just
Oh,
dead
what's your
arteries.
house like?
Round 2 is the tabloid round, and it's a quick-fire quiz this week, so fingers on the buzzers. Who says Oxford is a less cultured place than Liverpool?
whoever decides which is going to be the European city for 2008. Because Oxford were one of the people who wanted to be the European capital of culture, and Liverpool have got it. And everybody's very happy in Liverpool. They all jumped up and down with excitement. Wouldn't you be tempted if you had a job like that, where you know there was thousands of people waiting, you say, and the winner is, like in Liverpool. Just to watch their faces going, that's what I'd do.
The organiser of Bristol's bid told assembled journalists, "This is not a defeat for our city." Nice to see the Iraqi Information Minister back at work. Next, why might David Blunkett soon be buying sugar lumps instead of Win-a-Lot?
He's got a guide donkey. He's given up the guide dog, he's got a guide donkey, he's going to see him around. Donkeys are more intelligent than dogs.
It's nearly true.
Yeah, guide donkey, he's got a guide donkey.
It's a pony, isn't it?
A
Shetland pony.
He's got a guide pony.
They're going to replace dogs with Shetland ponies because they're brighter and they live longer. And so from now on, you can see people with Shetland ponies walking around the streets of London.
Correct answer.
Yeah.
Will blind people be able to ride these ponies?
Well, they're easier to ride than Labradors, aren't they?
Absolutely.
For an extra point, what did Cuddles, who's the first guide pony in the US, do recently? It went on Oprah.
The pony?
Yeah, the pony went on Oprah.
Went
Obviously.
on Oprah?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get guests in the summer.
Did the man who owned the guide pony know he was going to the Oprah show? Did he think he was going down the shops? Where am I now? What's all that crap? What do you mean I've overslept with my sister? What am I doing here?
They've also been tried out on aeroplanes.
Is it like a homing pony? What?
Would they have to take their shoes off to be examined for security reasons?
Is the bloke saying to the pony, what the hell have you taken me on this for? I said I wanted a pint of milk.
The plan is good news for Labradors. If the ponies are up to the job, the dogs get early retirement. If the ponies aren't, the dogs get lunch. As of this week, what might you not be allowed to do in a pub?
Oh. Swear.
You're not allowed to say firkin in a Wetherspoon pub.
Which groups did a spokesman blame?
Fat smokers. Oh, I bet it was them.
Drunken blind men looking for their ponies. Where are you, little bastard? Come here.
Or shift workers, builders and students, which covers the same kind of territory, doesn't it? As well as a ban on the F word, drinkers in Wetherspoon
Whose
pubs.
bleeding nosebag is this on the floor? You shouldn't bring a pony to the pub. Is someone talking to me? I bet they are. I bet it's that bloody pony again. What's he doing now? He's had a piss on the salt and vinegar crisp. I flew to Reykjavik last week. I didn't win a pint of milk.
As well as a ban on the F
ponies
word.
are a bloody waste of time. I was all right with a Labrador, and somebody says, "Oh, have a pony. They're cheaper." And you know, I've been skiing. I've been down a mine in Abergavenny. Something about it's in his genes.
As well as a ban on the F word, drinkers in Wetherspoon pubs will not be allowed to say piss and bollocks, meaning they can no longer order a pint of lager and a meat pie. And finally, which celebrity reality TV contestant got a break this week?
There was a celebrity person that fell out of a plane and broke their leg.
It was Cheryl from Bucks Fizz.
It was indeed Cheryl Baker.
She was trying to get her skirt off, wasn't she, in mid-air?
She broke her ankle. Filming for a series called Drop the Celebrity, in which celebs are voted out of a plane and have to parachute out.
Who's flying the plane? Keith Chegwin.
For an extra point, anyone want to guess as to who else is taking part?
Tara Parara Bumdier.
Bobby Davro.
Right.
Linda Lusardi.
Yes.
And Page 3 girl Leilani.
Don't know her.
Yeah.
I thought she was a hedge.
Cheryl Baker was OK, but later on in the event ended in tragedy when Bobby Davro fell 12,000 feet and landed safely.
Women?
Yeah.
It's the Miss World that was scheduled to take place in Nigeria. There was like some kind of wild, raging fire, people fighting in the streets.
There was, yeah.
I think it's perhaps because they saw Miss Germany myself. But Oh, big hands, big hands. Now,
We think the Miss World competition is sort of cheesy and 30 years out of date, but in northern Nigeria it's about 500 years ahead of its time. The fashion correspondent of a Nigerian newspaper wrote an article saying perhaps the Prophet would have taken one of these girls as his wife. So they started burning the place down.
That's right.
I think she was meant to write sort of black is the new black. And,
and it so is.
Who knows what Miss Norway said after getting safely back to London?
Glad to be back in London.
More or less. She said, we're off to McDonald's and I can't wait. The show will now be staged at Alexandra Palace. And do you know why that is an appropriate venue?
Well, because it's a very big room that you can accommodate a big fashion competition. And you can get cameras in.
No, it's a very complicated question.
Oh, I know, because it doesn't burn very quickly.
You know the answer or not?
Yes.
Yes, but the answer is that...
I don't want to know the answer.
All right, who wants to know the answer? I'll tell you. The answer is that it's... I'm in charge here. The answer is in the constituency...
Oh, hang on, boys.
The answer is in the constituency of Barbara Roche, who is Minister for Women. Well done, folks. And this indeed related to the Miss World contest. A spokeswoman for the pageant said that although the contest is being moved to England, it will retain a Nigerian flavour, which means they're going to have a riot and then stone Edwina Currie to death. Labour MP Glenda Jackson said they should call the whole contest off anyway, arguing it's such an antediluvian concept. That's a big word for a pretty lady.
Ian and Jimmy, your favourites are Janet Street Porter, A Bat, Jerry Springer and Newsnight.
This is about opera.
Ooh.
What, the...
That was quick.
It's Jerry Springer, the opera. There's an opera coming up called Newsnight, the opera.
Are you referring to A Bat Out of Hell, the opera?
Yes, starring Meatloaf.
Yeah. Probably not, then.
No, there's an opera called Die Fledermaus. So they're all the names of opera except Janet Street Porter.
That is exactly right.
So why is she the odd one out?
Because she's... Janet Street Porter is recently commissioned a play about Janet Street Porter and she's not involved in any opera, whereas all the rest of them are.
She's commissioned a play about herself?
She's commissioned a play about herself, yes.
That's incredibly self-absorbed, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. Jerry Springer, the opera, has just opened in London to rave reviews. The opera is traditional in many ways, although in this instance, it's not over till the fat lady beats up her husband for sleeping with a skinny sister.
Oh, this is
Harold Brown.
Harold Brown, the butler. It's a really baffling story. I can't make it out what's going on. There's this wedding ring going around that Prince Charles sort of gave to a member of the, just said to members of staff, does anybody want this gold wedding ring? And the explanation for that was, oh, well, the members of the public send him stuff like this all the time. Who sends gold wedding rings? People are arguing at home, you're bloody useless, I know. Right, give us that wedding ring, I'm sending it to Prince Charles.
Well, it's none of my wedding rings, I know that. I've had 4 and I haven't bothered sending any of them.
No one understands what's going on, largely not the police. They brought 2 prosecutions, both of which failed because of a very simple question. Have they stolen this stuff from the royal family? Question 1. Why not ask the royal family? Oh, no. 2 years of investigation. No one asks. And then the trial collapses.
Exactly.
Pathetic. Can you imagine how everyone would feel, your friends, if you just said, oh, I'm terribly sorry, we gave away all the wedding presents?
Well, isn't that what most people do?
Well, there'd be a lot of car boot sales around you every couple of years.
I think that there's more butlers than there are Elvis impersonators now.
There are butlers who actually are Elvis impersonators.
One for the money is their favourite.
But the other thing that's been really funny about the Harold Brown case is the idea that he took this huge gold ship to Spink the jewellers in a plastic carrier bag. I mean, hang on a minute.
Do you think the emir of wherever it was mines? He's given them a gold, jewel-encrusted dhow, the finest his kingdom can produce, and it's given to the servants.
I mean, he probably got it from somebody else the Christmas before.
Paul and Will, what's all this about?
This is the speech this week, wasn't it, Cherie Blair?
Well, I thought the speech was going well until she brought out that onion.
Well,
let's sort of lost it for me.
Let's just remind ourselves of that famous speech.
And particularly my son, in his first term at university. living away from home.
You'd have to have a heart of stone not to laugh.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a tough place for a young lad, Bristol.
And nowhere to live except 2 flats.
Yeah.
It's the tough life.
I don't suppose there was any serious news this week, wasn't there, actually, Chance?
Is that a Labour peer talking on my left? How did you feel about it?
I think it's finished, isn't it?
Oh, no, it's still going. Now, that's the classic New Labour line. As soon as a new discovery comes up, they say, well, let's move on, it's all over. But I don't think it is.
Do you know who advised us to actually make the speech?
Ken Dodd.
No.
I think you'll find it was.
No, it was not Ken Dodd.
I think you'll find it was.
Close.
Peter Mandelson and the Diddy Men.
It was Peter Mandelson, and...
Yeah, and he's pretty good on those property deals, isn't he? She said, I'm not Superwoman.
She said, I'm not Superwoman.
And she said, you know, us working mums, hey, we all lie. Oh, no, she didn't say that. That was the subtext.
Here's a good memory one for you.
Yep.
Back in July 1998...
Brotherhood of Man.
We may have been on the go then, but so was somebody else. What did Tony Blair tell the nation at that point?
I love being asked this by a senior politician. As though you don't know.
I think we have to be very careful with people fluttering around the new government, trying to make all sorts of claims of influence, that we are pure and pure, that people understand that we will not have any truck with anything that is improper in any shape or form at all.
So there you are.
There's an element here of her being conned by this guy, though, as well, isn't there?
What, by Blair?
Yeah, no.
And so to the final round, featuring this week's Could You Shut Your Face? Just for 5 minutes. I'm sorry.
Don't you ever interrupt me again.
And so to the final round, featuring this week's guest publication, the soon-to-be-defunct Innovations Catalogue. So why not say goodbye to missing word misery with this attractive selection of handy disposable headlines. Outraged US dumps what on what?
Dictionary on Bush.
The answer is a pregnant Barbie in the UK market.
Is there menopause Barbie? What Barbies are they? With the little beard? That'll be for next year. Barbies are incontinent Barbie with the little Louis Vuitton continent pant. Okay, I'm done. I just thought I'd talk for a minute, but...
Barbie's pregnant friend is called Midge, except when she's not in the room, then she's just called Slag. Next, say goodbye to what in just 8 weeks?
Iraqis?
Say goodbye to shaving without your shaver having a floodlight and a CD player built into it.
Yeah. Say goodbye to October and December. In just 8 weeks.
That's very good.
Very good. No. It's say goodbye to slack neck muscles. Now you know what to buy John Prescott for Christmas, then.
Thank you.
Next, what swallowed by sofa?
Esther Ransom. On live television. It was a disaster. She was interviewing the Archbishop of Canterbury and suddenly the sofa went, oh, and the last thing you saw was the teeth going, so how long have you been in there when she was gone? I don't know where she's gone. She's down the back of the sofa.
It's £300 million.
Is that in loose change that just falls out of your pockets?
Pound coins.
Down the back of the sofa?
In one sofa?
Yes, apparently if you put a pound coin in a jam jar every day since they were introduced in 1983, you'd have £7,300. Whereas if you put that money in an ISA, you'd have £1.10 and no jam jar. Pauline Glenda, your media feeding frenzy.
OK. Oh, this is wonderful. Oh, yeah. This is the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire scandal. There's Darwin Pillock. Teflon Pillow, whatever his name is. He went on to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and they devised this scheme where somebody in the audience would cough to let him know, you know, he was on the right answer, and... we haven't got to the answers yet, so...
The plan was brilliant in that you'd have the most stupid person you can find as the front man.
Yeah.
So there's no possibility he'll know even one answer.
Yeah. Whereas the guy in the audience that knows all the answers, why isn't he sitting in the chair?
Do you know what he said? He said, I was coughing, but I wasn't signalling. But he went, no! Yeah. And Chris Tarrant's explanation of how he didn't pick up on it, did you hear what that was?
No, what did he say?
He said, well, short of someone lighting a fire and sending smoke signals, I'd have no idea. Tosser! Did you know the answer to any of the questions, Ian?
I did know the answer to some of the questions.
Did you? Yes.
Well, the man who designed the centre of Paris, there is a thing called the Boulevard Haussmann.
Yes.
That was the £500,000 question, I think, and this
That
is
was.
where he was brilliant, the Major Ingram, because as Ian says, Haussmann was the answer. So he said Haussmann designed which major city? Is it A, Paris? He looks blank. B, Berlin. He goes, Berlin. German name, £500,000. It couldn't be easier than that. So he doesn't listen to any other Athens. No, he says, I think it's Berlin. It's Berlin. There's no coughing. I think it's Berlin. It's definitely Berlin. Nobody's coughing. I don't think it's Paris. I think it's Paris. Just as Ian says, you'd be better off with bag puss sitting there. Just dreadful. Because I think the agreement was, there was a suggestion that the agreement was that he would go as far as 125,000 and not go any further than that, because they thought the more it goes on, the more likely you are to be discovered. But he thought he was doing so well that he just kept going.
Yeah, he was on a roll.
And then when he won the million, him and the wife went to the dressing room and they had a blazing row. You know, under what circumstances do you win £1 million over a blazing row? You bloody idiot! What are we going to do with all that money? Where do you think I'm going to put that? I'm not going to size in his pocket. How's it going to go in there? Toss pot. It's not likely, is it, really? I think it's the story of the year. Can we talk about it every week?
Yeah. Still, you'll feel guilty if he dies of SARS, won't you?
Do you know what the first commercial shown in the first ad break of the documentary was?
It's got to be for cough syrup.
It was Benylin, yeah. Those guys are clever, aren't they? So this was the infamous Who Wants to Be a Millionaire episode, finally aired on Easter Monday. The alleged accomplice, Mr. Whittock, told the court he'd been coughing due to a frog in the throat, rhinitis, hay fever and asthma, at which the judge called out, B, rhinitis.
Ian and Michael, what's this about? Public enemy number one.
And these are hedgehogs.
Well, that's a leap. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, hedgehogs in the Hebrides are killing birds.
These birds are very slow if they're being killed by hedgehogs, aren't they? What are they doing? Just lying there as the hedgehog nibbles their feet.
You're right, it's...
and they don't eat the birds, Paul, you're just being silly. They eat the eggs. So the eggs aren't very fast.
There are, as you say, 5,000 hedgehogs now. How many were there on these islands 30 years ago?
20 million.
Is that the way you do your figures at Camelot?
None. Paul's just got it. There were none. And then 4 were introduced in 1974.
Yeah. Introduced?
This is George, this is Jack.
Well, I hope it wasn't just George and Jack to turn it.
How will the hedgehogs be killed?
Hard-boiled eggs.
They're going to be shot.
So are you ordering room service?
No, you see, they take the eggs. They feed off the eggs of the birds.
So what's hard-boiling?
If you hard-boil them, they'll choke.
Yeah. They will.
You've got it there.
Well, you've got little paws. They might be able to slap each other on the back. That'd be a sight worth filming, wouldn't it? Does David Attenborough know that we're going to be giving boiled eggs to hedgehogs?
Yeah, he's going to be boiling the eggs.
Ah, well, there we are.
Are they going to shoot them?
Shoot hedgehogs?
Yeah, it wouldn't be difficult to
Are
catch
they going
them.
to hunt them with dogs on Boxing Day morning? Dressed in pink? That would be a nice sight.
Wouldn't it, Tony?
You could hit them with croquet mallets.
So how are they going to kill them?
Lethal injection.
Lethal injection?
Well, they just poison the sources of milk.
Yeah.
It's a complicated one. How do you find a pit to get your needle in? Because I'm used to this.
And how do you know that you've already done? You might be doing the same one 4 times. You don't know. He goes round the rock and they say, "Look, you go out there again. You're dead anyway. You might as well go." Give them the hard-boiled eggs. It's the only way.
Ian and Ruby, your 4 are Georgios Kyriakos Paniatou, Marie-Christine von Ribnitz, Maurice Micklewhite and Tariq Aziz.
Well, Michaelmas
Micklewhite.
is Michael Caine,
Yeah, that's George Michael.
and that's
Princess
your friend,
Michael.
Princess Michael. All Michaels. Did we win?
They've all changed their names to Michael.
And Tariq Aziz has changed his name from Michael.
Hey,
Very
that's why you get
because he's
the
a
point.
Catholic.
Did you know
That's
that?
right.
Yeah.
When did you know that?
I knew that about 1 second ago. The only thing I know about him is he's a Catholic, and Saddam appointed him to make it look as though he didn't always appoint Sunni Muslims. And
So he changed his name to Tariq Aziz to
So
make
these
himself sound
look
more
like a
Arab.
Muslim.
Wandering around the abandoned home of Tariq Aziz in Baghdad, a journalist from the Washington Post described the study as an airy room on the ground floor. Well, it is now, anyway. During his national service, Michael Caine did a tour of duty in the Korean War and narrowly escaped death when the Chinese ambushed a jeep he was driving. Luckily, the explosion just blew the bloody doors off. George Michael was originally called Georgios Kyriakos Paniatou. In the 80s, he founded Wham, originally called Wamos Ridgeliakos Kakos.
Well, it's SARS.
It's SARS, it's the epidemic.
The world's least frightening disease.
Well done, you've worked
Because
it out.
90% of the people who get it are fine, and the only ones who die are the ones who are treated in jungle clearings.
My geography's not too hard. How many jungles are there in Beijing?
Well, there's a wood. SARS isn't scary. That's the most important. Only in the Daily Mail is it scary, where everything's scary.
Yeah.
Yoghurt is scary. I think it was a Canadian PR stunt to get on the news. We've got it. Yes, we've got it. We've got SARS here. Look how important we are. We're so important. People come here with SARS.
And what's said to have started SARS?
It's chicken, isn't it?
Chicken. Now, yes, isn't it to do with living close to chickens? You would know about this, Ian, wouldn't you? You were brought up in Hong Kong. I wasn't referring to anything more recent than that.
Oh, right, yes. I suddenly thought I must go home. There's been a chicken invasion. I was brought up in Hong Kong, so if anyone wants to leave...
This is the worldwide spread of severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS. As this is quite a sensitive subject, we're aware we might get some complaints. So the BBC have asked me to say, if you know someone with the disease and you're thinking of writing in, please don't lick the envelope yourself.
Ian and Robert, wake me up before you go.
This is about trains.
Subject close to your heart.
They've decided this Christmas, because a lot of people go to Christmas parties and fall asleep on trains and then miss their station. Oh. So they're issuing badges that says, wake me up at, you know...
Yes, at Bruton.
At Bruton or Marden or Ashford. Except on my line, where they're issuing badges saying, wake me up if a train arrives at all.
There's a marvellous charter for practical jokers. You only just have to go around with all these pissed people, take off their signs and badges and just put Dover.
Time now for the tabloid headline round. Ian and Giles, what's this about? Pointless rubbish.
It's to do with the Eurovision Song Contest, isn't it?
Nul point.
And the song by Gemini was considered to be rubbish. Anyway, it certainly came bottom of the poll.
Yes, no points at all for the first time ever.
I thought that Turkey would do quite well because of the belly dancing, but of course I was really backing Tattoo.
Were you really?
Why?
They were useless.
Tattoo were not useless.
They were rubbish.
Tattoo are personal friends of mine.
Sorry.
John Major's a personal friend of yours.
John Major is a very good man.
He dresses so well and so quickly.
Can I just pick you up on the... A Tattoo really personal friends of yours?
Well, I haven't met them, and I actually know Tat better than two, but I have...
That's certainly true.
Who would like to see the Eurovision entry again?
OK.
Not to worry, it's only in front of 150 million people. Yes, this is the story of Europe coming together and uniting under one common sentiment. Weren't Gemini rubbish? After scoring no points in last weekend's Eurovision Song Contest, Gemini claims the stage equipment let us down. Yep, the microphones were working.
Missing Words is the final round, featuring this week's guest publication, British Homing World magazine. Here we go. Do you have your what tested regularly?
Pigeons.
You're in the right area. Do you have your...
Prostate.
droppings tested regularly. This is from the British Homing World
Is that a taste
magazine.
test?
There are about 8 different lung conditions you can get from pigeons, of which psittacosis is the only one I can remember. But,
And what are the symptoms of that? If there's anybody who's watching at home who's got a pigeon in their living room, somebody who maybe at the moment is smoking a pigeon, what would be the effect on their lung?
well, it's the same symptoms as SARS, which isn't terribly reassuring. But it's trouble breathing. The SARS thing is interesting, isn't it? Because nobody's died of SARS in this country. 1,500 people have died falling down the stairs. Right? And in fact, more people are falling down the stairs now because they've got those bloody ridiculous masks on. They can't see where they're going.
Next, what had secret talks with Mole?
Ratty.
Not that book.
Pigeon.
Not that mag.
British Army. Is it British Army?
Government.
Oh.
It was the last government.
Yes. The answer is Thatcher. This is the further revelations about the identity of the IRA informer Steak Knife. This week, Freddie Scappaticci denied he was Steak Knife, claiming he was the much less threatening member of the IRA, codenamed Gravy Boat. And finally, what replaces what as Pigeon Prize?
Matthew Kelly, Tin Cup. Matthew Kelly replaces Tin Cup as Pigeon Prize. You want to give it to me, but you can't.
I do. Bread maker replaces TV as Pigeon Prize. This is the news that...
Why would a pigeon want to make its own bread? Mind you, they do eat bread, don't they?
They do.
Yeah. They don't have to scrounge off the rest of us, then they can make their own bread. That should be the contest. You've got to fly to Oldham and back and produce a couple of croissants. And it can be judged by Delia Smith. What the hell am I talking about?
Missing Words is the final round, featuring this week's guest publication, European Sandwich and Snack News. Formerly known as Sandwich and Snack News, another example of creeping centralisation. Here we go. Earl of Sandwich moves into what?
Sandwiches. I happen to know him, and I happen to know he has gone into
Why
sandwiches.
doesn't that surprise me? The answer is the Earl of Sandwich moves into delivery. A new sandwich delivery company called Earl of Sandwich has been set up by Robert Earl, founder of Planet Hollywood, together with John, the 11th Earl of Sandwich. It means bad news for their main rivals, Steve Pye and Derek Chips.
What's the Earl of Sandwich's surname? Is it Sandwich?
Mm-hmm.
Is it really? Right, here's the thing. What came first, right? His name.
The Earl came first. The Earl of Sandwich invented the sandwich. He was sitting around when he went to gamble, and he wanted something sort of quickly that he could eat, and so there was some meat, and he said put it between 2 pieces of bread, and so he started eating that, and they said, that's a very good idea, what do you call it? And he said, well, I'm going to name it after myself. From now on, it's going to be known as a Colin. And then, after several hundred years, it became a sandwich. But no, it was this Earl of Sandwich that supposedly invented a sandwich. Cool.
And he was playing that night with the Duke of Wellington.
Yeah.
Who kicked him.
Yeah.
Thus giving rise to another eponymous artefact, the
beef shoes.
The boot.
Beef shoes. Beef shoes. Do you remember when we used to wear beef shoes during the war?
And the third guy...
When you couldn't get leather, beef shoes.
The third guy was the Earl of Cardigan.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one hell of a four. It really was.
Not bad. Lord Traffic Cone was there, do you remember?
And the first...
He invented a telephone box.
The first Baron trouser press.
Of Corby.
Hang on, is this all bullshit now?
I think you'll find...
No, because fair's fair. I asked a serious question, and now it seems it's almost like you're lying.
No. Excessive lying was invented by the Earl of Bullshit in 1678.
He was called Lord Blair.
Next, my best mate's what?
John Major.
But you know, he was a perfect gentleman. Edwina told me that when they were sharing a bath, John Major always sat with his back to the taps.
If it had been me, I'd have sat with me back to her. It's the Iraqi War, isn't it?
Well spotted, yes.
Yeah.
And what was the term coined by the Americans for the opening phase of the war?
Donald?
It was shock and awe.
And Shaw.
Shock and awe. Shock.
All right, who gets the points?
We're on the same side. I'm getting friendly fire here.
There wasn't actually any shock and awe, was there? Everyone was expecting it, but
I bet it was pretty shocking to the people in Baghdad.
Well, funnily enough, the United States academic who coined the term told the media the postponement of shock and awe was also shock and awe because we were threatening shock and awe. So suddenly it all becomes clear.
I thought it was just getting in there, doing the job and getting out again.
Well, it wasn't.
They never did the job, though. They had to do it over and over again. Didn't they have to go
Still
to
doing the
Gaza?
job.
Still doing it. Have they liberated it?
They've liberated it and a grateful population is trying to kill them.
Have they informed?
Well, there were some political casualties back here on our own shores, weren't they, Glenda? Robin Cook and Claire Short. Did you approve of Robin's
I don't
stand?
regard Robin as being a casualty. I think he added
his job, then?
one of the best touches to the whole thing. At least he
You did
stood up
approve
and yeah, absolutely.
Do you think Claire Short should have resigned
Yes.
then?
Oh, I don't want to go into that.
But I do.
You tell me.
So you're just going to blank that one?
Well, I'm somebody who never thought she ever would resign, so
Right.
it came as no particular surprise to me that she didn't.
I don't care about Claire Short, but I just wanted to always ask this, and Ian, you'll back me on this. You know, in The Music Lovers, when you squatted on the grate, was that really
squatted on?
There was a scene.
This is one of the finest performances in cinema history.
We're squatting on the grate.
Squatting
the
on the
people.
Oh, I do remember.
The people that put their hands through the grate.
Yes.
You were crazy at the time,
Yes.
playing someone crazy.
Yes.
Was that like a body double or a finger double, or were they really?
Well, it was really me on the grate. I
And
don't know about the fingers.
Was it a pleasurable experience? We want to know.
You lead very quiet lives.
Because I've been squatting on drains for years and nothing like that. Yeah,
And on that
find the
bombshell,
right-
I drag you back
right
to the
drain.
popular news-based quiz.
Claire Short, Claire Short.
So who have the Americans put in charge?
Oh no! See, I knew we'd go there.
Very
He's small and he's got a very.
And he's called Jay
He's
Garner.
a small guy.
He is.
General.
And what mustn't we
general.
call him?
You mustn't call him Jim Rockford.
Buddy.
Jim Rockford Buddy or leader, because
Right.
the new leader of Iraq will be an Iraqi, we've been assured.
I think the Americans have anything to do with it.
So are you unhappy about the situation, Glenda?
Which situation are we talking about?
The toppling of Saddam, the statue
Oh,
falling
yes.
off.
Yeah. Well, I think rather more than the statue has been toppled, hasn't it? They still haven't found him. Perhaps he's
No.
hiding in the same place as the weapons of mass destruction.
Perhaps that statue was him.
Oh, him really?
Covered himself in
That would be a
batter.
clever
Oh,
idea.
right.
He just stood in the sun like that. He gets chucked in the skip and he runs off home.
It would be a bad couple of days for him, though, because everyone hit him with a shoe, because
Yeah.
that's the ultimate offence.
Yeah.
Except someone who pulled down the trousers and rubbed the genitals in the face. That's the real insult.
In some marriages, that's a sign of forgiveness.
There, in a nutshell, is the answer to that question.
Is that it, then? Is there no big question on Galloway?
Well, we were rather hoping you'd drift onto it, but you didn't. And,
It is a fantastic story, this. They go into a burnt-out building. There's nothing remaining except a shoebox. And in the shoebox, there is...
A shoe. Sorry, I've got a cold. Carry on. I hope it's a cold.
Do you think somebody planted the letter? The letter?
The letter. No, I don't, because I just think our intelligence services aren't up to that.
Do you think that
What
the
about
Telegraph
the
would
dodgy
make this
dossier?
up?
They did very well.
That wasn't the intelligence services, Glenda. That was...
I rather thought it was.
No, that was Alistair Campbell's unit. You really must read the papers.
I go on what the Prime Minister says.
Yeah, well, that is stupid.
Foolish.
Ian and Giles, here's yours.
Everyone's got het up, or a number of people got het up about
Europe and the new
Europe, the new whatever it is. What is the new thing?
It's the new constitution. As a former Tory MP, you wouldn't have heard of it, but it's...
I've been thinking about this Euro business now for about 10 years, and they've produced this enormous sort of pile of documentation, and the Daily Mail wants a referendum nationally on the 12th of June, and I've got the solution.
What's the solution?
We toss for it. And having candidly known a lot of politicians from all parties, they
A lot
know...
of tossers.
Yeah, indeed. Exactly. Why do you care?
Why do I care? I suppose I'd just rather that we elected the people who took control of our lives.
But
It's
have you
very, very
seen-
simple.
Excuse me, am I needed here? Do you fancy having a quick chew?
Do you know what the big victory that Peter Hain claimed this week was?
Yeah.
Do you know what, in the wording? Do you know what it was?
Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you.
The word
That's fair
federal.
enough.
He got rid of the word
They
federal.
replaced it with?
Fish cake.
You see, nobody cares. Even you, as you speak
you
the
would
words, you frankly do not care.
Is this what democracy is like, Charles? You shouting at me a lot?
You actually are really rather attractive.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you know what the Sun are particularly worried about?
That it may be somebody running Europe who doesn't have big tits.
What they're actually worried about is the new Euro arrest warrant. Do you know what that contains? According to The Sun, foreign courts will be allowed to seize Britons and try them for a list of offences, including xenophobia, which are not crimes here. The devious foreign bastards.
Ian Marcus Stum Doctor.
Yes, that's a clever pun on Spin Doctor, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
Clever. It's Alistair Campbell refusing to say anything at all.
He was asked to appear before a committee to explain why this dossier contained an old PhD thesis he'd downloaded from the internet, with a few words changed. And he's decided not to explain himself, which is reasonable, because he might have to tell the truth. And everyone's saying this is pretty disgraceful.
He said Saddam could deploy weapons of mass destruction within 45 minutes, assuming that America, Britain or France could send the chemicals there within about 20 minutes.
Will we ever find evidence relating to the weapons of mass? Did you think?
Yes,
Do you
we
think
will. Yeah, because the Americans have sent in their own inspection team. So yes, definitely, at some stage we will.
Well, while we're on the subject of Iraq, it's definitely time for... Play your Iraqi cards right. Now, these are the cards that the Americans... Please. This is satire. Now, these are the cards that the Americans made to show all the Iraqi bad guys in the war. Now, Ian, you go first.
Thank you, Bruce.
It's the king of clubs. RCC vice chairman is that Ibram. Now then, it's a high card. Think about this. The audience will help you. Do you think it's higher or lower?
I'm not sure this programme can go much lower.
Oh, you haven't seen the finish yet.
I'd say lower.
Lucas, do you agree? No. OK, now what have you got? You've got the Eight of Hearts, Minister of Defence Sultan Hashim Ahmed. OK.
Yes, well, that's a mass murderer, I would have thought.
It's a middle card, Ian. It's a middle card, so this is difficult.
Tricky. I never saw this programme.
No. I know, that's why it's such fun for me.
You have to say higher or lower, but it's in the middle. So
it is in the middle, so it's a gamble.
Oh, higher.
Saddam would be higher, as would Rumsfeld.
What are the audience?
Higher.
You think I'm going to say higher? Right, let's have a look at this. It's the Eight of Spades. Deputy Prime Minister Tariq Aziz. And you have a pair. You don't get anything for a pair. Not in... So it goes over to Paul and Natasha. You've got control of the board. OK. You have, very important, OK, you've got an Eight of Spades here. Do you think it's higher or lower?
I think it's lower.
I think it must be lower. Yeah, it must be lower.
Five of Hearts, yes. Chief Scientist Hudol Sally. Oh, yeah, Chemical Sally. That was her, wasn't it?
No.
OK, so marvellous. Now, the last one, it's a fairly low card, isn't it?
OK, on the basis of that, I'll go lower.
Lower.
You want to go lower?
Yeah.
What happens if we get that right? Then what? I've forgotten.
Well,
the end
you've
of the game.
won.
Oh,
Yeah, we go to Barbados.
What, both of you?
Either that or a toaster.
We say lower. We say lower.
OK, after a 5, do you think they're right? Oh, you're wrong! It's the star card, Saddam Hussein. So you've won.
So you go on holiday
You
to
see?
I've been waiting 14 years for the show to be like this. I'm having the time of my life.
Yes, this is the ongoing row over Alistair Campbell's sexing up of the weapons of mass destruction dossier. Oh, all in one breath, Could you had a purple flash before that?
Could you go higher?
No, I couldn't. Tony Blair insists that weapons of mass destruction will eventually be found in Iraq. Well, it would be nice to see them.
This could be a dream. This could be a dream. It could be in Ian's dream or it could be in mine. I don't know which one it is. Maybe it could be in yours.
For you and
it
me,
might be
I
in
take
yours.
that.
But actually, I'm just thinking of the way that you read that autocue. I think you should really be a newsreader in your next life. You do it very smoothly.
Are you being sarcastic?
No.
Now, round 3 is usually the odd one out round, but I've had a much better idea. Yes. So we're going to play conveyor belt connections. Ian and Marcus, you're first. Now, a number of different items will pass in front of you.
You must have seen this, Ian. You must have seen this.
Is this the end of the generation game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well done, well done. You'll have 30 seconds to remember as many of the items as you can and then tell me the connection between them, all right? I hope you're playing this at home. Right, let's see what's on the conveyor belt tonight.
Well, Bruce, on the conveyor belt tonight are a trinket box, a fan letter, highlighter pens, an electric toothbrush, a battery-operated stapler, a light bulb, a bottle of mineral water, the English flag, some Lynx deodorant, a mug, an Angle Boys lamp, a stereo system, a book, Halle Berry, a pair of pink knickers.
Right, now you've got 30 seconds to remember as many of those items as possible. 30 seconds starting from now.
Halle Berry.
Yes, good.
Halle Berry.
Yeah.
And the knickers.
And the knickers. Yes, we're seeing
Halle Berry and...
What about Halle Berry and no knickers?
Oh.
Just a thought.
Toothbrush. Cuddly toys a fair bet.
Come on, Ian, join in.
Fan letter.
That's it, good.
Angle Boys lamp, electric light bulb, trinket box.
Yeah.
Teas made.
Very good. Sorry, I've got to do it. Didn't you do well? You've got 8 points. And what's the connection? This is the important thing. What is the connection with all those items?
They are all to be found, or were to be found, in Prince Harry's study at Eton.
Yes, the connection is, as revealed in the weekend papers, they're all items found in Prince Harry's study. In the week that he leaves Eton, every paper in the land is united in its praise of Harry's ability as an all-round sportsman and artist. I'll make a note of that. Bit thick. Now, Missing Words is the final round, featuring this week's guest publication, Dancing Times. OK? Bush lets what do the talking?
Grown-ups. Arse.
Rumsfeld.
No.
Chirac.
No.
Keith Chegwin.
Schroeder.
Body language. Body language,
yeah,
yes.
body language.
Next, love affair with computers could create what?
The pitter-patter of tiny laptops. Is it sticky keyboard?
I'm not going there.
They all
for a
go,
start.
"Whoa," and then- yeah, fair enough.
The answer is world without romance. Next, tap dance on the what in Switzerland?
Is it cheap? Tap dance on the cheap?
No, not
Is
cheap.
it piss?
What?
Tap dance on the piss in Switzerland. Get drunk and tap dance in Switzerland. It's a new holiday.
No.
On the increase.
On the well done,
Oh, well done.
Natasha. Yes, tap dance on the increase in Switzerland. Yes. It is on the increase. Well, it must be temptation when the hills are alive with the sound of music. Right.
That was Austria.
You know your musicals, don't you?
At public school, Ian appeared in an amateur version of The Sound of Music. That's right, isn't it?
I was Hitler.
It's a walk-on part, but a necessary role.
And finally, the riffle is basically a what with a what.
It's a trifle with a T missing.
Answer is shuffle with a scuff between the brush and the pull.
Oh, yeah.
See, in tap dance, you have a lot of things like ball changes, flat ball change, flat ball change. They're all terms, right? OK, which I'm sure they couldn't care less about.
Especially when you demonstrate it under the desk, don't you?
We can testify that your shuffleboard change was very good. Yeah.
It's a new first for television, invisible tap dancing. Could go on the radio with that.
Good night.
Gaddafi to host what?
Have I got news for you?
Paul and John, have a look at this.
Well, this is the Queen, isn't it?
Yes.
The other Queen.
This is posh. Her attempting to sing. Quick stopper.
These are alleged kidnappers
of her and the child. The Queen's behind it all. She's behind it all. She's
You think Doc Hyde?
Yeah, get me posh bits. She's usurping my popularity. I don't like it.
Who's been helping the Beckhams through their ordeal?
Lulu.
No, it's Elton John, that famous celebrity psychotherapist.
Close enough.
Any other reason Posh was in the news this week?
Yes, very funny story.
Go on.
Peterborough United, the football club, who have been known as the Posh, as their nickname since the early 20s, she is claiming that they've nicked the name off her. And that she's known as Posh worldwide, and that they have to give up being called the Posh because she's posh, and that's it.
That's not very funny.
I wouldn't. They're all doing it now. Apparently,
just leave your name at the desk on the way out.
It's good having a women presenter because you can be really bitchy and unpleasant, can't you? Do you think she's had Botox? I only ask because I know you have. I read it in the paper. Oh, what an ooh.